Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. So good to be with you on another Saturday evening where, at least here in Denver, it is cold and snowy. We had the Christmas music going, and it was just beautiful. So glad you're here on this Saturday night. If you're new with us, welcome. You might not be here by accident, so just stick around, get comfortable. Stay here. We are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here at Free is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. That's what we're about here at Free. A few things you might want to know about before we jump into, by the way, this is Joy Week, third week in Advent. Joy. It's the third week of our series, Sober and Serene for the holidays. Couple things you might want to know about. One, do y'all remember Tony Grebmeyer? We call him Tony G. He's a friend of this community, part of this community. He's been a guest storyteller with us a couple times. He just wrote the Recovery Journal, and it is being published this week. You can pre-order it this week. It'll be here in time for Christmas. Tony G, good friend of mine. He's going to celebrate 12 years of sobriety, I believe on December 15th, who he co-authored it with. Anna David, I believe is her name. She's 20 years sober. They wrote this together. They realize that everyone recovers differently. So this is for everyone. 30 minutes a day, you're going to get new practices. You're going to practice gratitude. You're going to get new habits in your life. So 30 minutes a day. I just wanted to throw that out there to y'all. If you go to BeFulfilledRecovery.com, that's where you can find it. And he gave us a discount code. So if you're listening right now and you want that, type in the word FREE, F-R-E-E. That's a discount code. It doesn't mean it's free. You still got to pay for it, but it's a discount. Just type in FREE because that's what we're about here. All right, y'all. The recovery journey at BeFulfilledRecovery.com. Now, I hope to see y'all, if you're local, I hope to see you this Friday night, December 18th from 5 to 7 p.m. We've got this really awesome event outside in our parking lot. Saman is going to tell us more about what's happening at the shindig. Take it over, Saman.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to be here tonight with you all. Yeah, it is cold tonight. It is snowy. It's been chilly all day. But yes, as Ryan said, Friday, December 18th, which is this Friday, it's our next free gives. It's not going to be chilly. There's going to be a lot of joy. There's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be festive. Please come join us from 5 to 7 p.m. We're going big. We have a truck coming, 150 treats and gourmet hot chocolate. It's going to be amazing. Festive, fun, lights. There's going to be Santa, s'mores. Please, please, please come. This is our opportunity to thank you guys, thank our community for all you've done for us this year. And on top of that, you may have heard us mention that we have adopted a family this Christmas. We do have a sign up for gifts. There's still plenty to choose from. It's super easy. I'm going to put the link in the comments. Please, all you need to do is go in there, click on the link, pick something from the list. It's all like listed out for you. It's really, really easy. And then bring them on Friday wrapped, please. But yeah, let's bless this family. And yeah, Friday night is going to be amazing. Like I said, Santa is going to be here. I'm coming as an elf. You don't want to miss that. Yeah, we hope to see you. Let's celebrate.
Others can come as an elf too, right?
Anybody can come as an elf, please.
I love it. I love this community. I can't wait to have fun with y'all. It's from 5 to 7 this Saturday. Seriously, bring the friends, bring the family, bring the kids. You don't have to stay the whole time. Just come stop by. Drive through, stay in your car if you want. We'll serve you hot chocolate. Gourmet hot chocolate. And I heard Wagon Coffee's also going to be here, right? We'll have some coffee. Go in and flowing. Don't y'all worry. We got you covered. All right, y'all. It is, like I said, the third week in Advent. If you're a bit fuzzy, if you didn't grow up with the church thing, you're thinking, well, what in the heck is Advent? Advent is a time of preparation. It's a time of waiting and watching. It's the time of expecting something good to happen. It's expecting Christ coming into the world, the new thing happening in our lives. So it's the third week of Advent. It's Advent is 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, so we're not to Christmas yet. We're still in Advent. But this is the third week where we recognize and celebrate joy. So I want to invite Jeremy. Jeremy's our guest storyteller tonight, by the way. I can't wait for y'all to hear his story. Jeremy and his wife, Lindsay, are going to come up and read a prayer for us and light the Advent candles of hope, peace, and joy.
All right, so this evening we light 3 candles. The candles of hope, peace, and tonight the candle of joy. This candle reminds us that we have reason to be joyful. Even in the midst of strife, we remember that the angel proclaimed Christ's birth as good news of great joy to all people. We enter into the story of good news again this year. Yes, even in 2020, tonight we celebrate with joyful hearts and commit ourselves to spreading that joy to the world around us.
Thank you all. Best candle lighters we've had all week. Tonight we celebrate joy, and how fitting is it for us to begin with some celebrations, because it's what we do in this community. It's how we start. I'm going to say more about that in a little bit, of why we start with celebrating. We start there. We start with gratitude. So I want you to take 2 minutes. Am I right, Drew? Is it 2 minutes? Take 2 minutes. This is how we start in the free community every Saturday night. We lift up the good things, and we believe that God celebrates with us, that God is clapping with us and for us. We know a couple thousand people around the country are clapping and celebrating with you when you lift up your joys, your celebrations, the good things in life. Maybe it's a sobriety date. Maybe it's a new life happening in your midst with new babies, or I don't know, new jobs. It's the newness in life, the things you want to lift up. It doesn't matter how big or how small. We celebrate together. So take 2 minutes, give it to us in the comments. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, just drop it in the comments, and we will put some of them on the screen and come back and celebrate with you. And Tammy will be joining us. See y'all in 2.
Secret is I just smile and say follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. My secret is I just smile and say live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world, yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. People ask me what my secret is. On top of the world, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. People ask me what my secret is. On top of the world, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah.
Boom. Which camera are we?
Check, check. I think so.
This one.
Okay.
Told you. I was just seeing if Tammy knew. All right. It's this one. All right, y'all. Welcome back. We're going to celebrate together. Shall we throw some comments on the screen? Did y'all welcome Tammy, by the way? Should we give her a round of
What's up,
applause?
friends?
All right.
Kick it
How'd
off?
that feel?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Marty, hey Marty. I celebrate the sound of my grandkids' voices when they sing. Fills my heart. Marty, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah.
Miss seeing
Joining
you.
us on the YouTube. Welcome, Marty. We're going to celebrate that with you. Andrew Swinson. Can I take this one?
It's yours. Go
Oh, it's
for
mine.
it. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are going to see more of Andrew in just a moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a letter to his addiction. So you're going to see that in just a moment. It's powerful stuff. Andrew celebrating 1 year sober on Monday.
Yeah. Andrew.
Celebrate it with you, brother. Glad you're part of this community.
Heck yeah.
Love you, dude.
Elizabeth, I woke up to a text from my child Thursday morning. Pure relief to know she's okay. That means a lot in this community. Thanks for sharing that, Elizabeth.
It does.
Awesome.
Good news, Elizabeth. Celebrating that with you. Matt Davis from the tech team is in the house. By the way, our tech team doubled tonight. Thank you all for responding to that. If you still want to be on the tech team, you can do that. Should have said that in the announcements. Matt Davis is celebrating by the grace of God this week. Got called back to work in the oil field. Way to go, Matt. Congratulations, brother. Good news.
Very good news. Pam, third night of Hanukkah. I love how the holidays all blend together with a message of hope, peace, and miracles.
Yes.
Good stuff.
We'll clap for
Pam.
that. Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish brothers and sisters out there. Rachel says, is this one mine? Mm-hmm. Rachel says, we go back and forth. I mean, how can I keep up with that? There's two of us here. I just finished my first semester in human services, working towards my associate's degree. Grateful to be sober. Way to go,
yeah,
Rachel.
Rachel.
Keep doing your thing.
Love it.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah, glad you're here. Saman, this is a big one. Saman was telling me this before I got up here. Romy and I have a countdown. 3 more weeks until 50-50 is shared. She said her birthday wish is coming true. Yeah, that's huge.
That's big.
That's really big.
Way to go, Saman and Romy. Glad y'all are here.
Ben Coachelle?
Now, it's Kochel.
I know,
Ben
but you
Kochel.
say Coachelle.
I know, but I was corrected on it, so now I got to say it correctly.
shoot.
Ben, we're just glad you're here. You and your family. Hey, Jen. Ben says, celebrating staying sober at home. Can't make it to many meetings these days, but appreciate our virtual recovery world.
Yeah,
Yes. Good stuff, Ben. Thanks for lifting that up. And it's why 12-step meetings are still going still going virtual. It's why we're still virtual here, because we realize like good news doesn't just stop in the midst of a pandemic. So thank you for lifting that up, Ben. Love you, brother. Glad you're part of this community. Let's do one more, shall we?
Okay, from Tina, health, warm home, and good kid-focused relationship with my co-parent. That's God.
That's God. There you go, Tina. Thank you for
Awesome,
giving that
Tina.
to us.
Glad you're here,
It's a good
T.
word.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tammy, for joining me.
thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. As I said just a moment ago, you're going to hear from Andrew. Andrew wrote a letter to his addiction, and we're keeping these going all throughout Advent. But as Danny and I were talking this week, these have had a major impact on people's lives, these letters. This is the third one so far. So when we started it, we were just going to do it through Advent, but we said, you know what, there's no reason to stop. Let's do these every week until we decide to stop. But it's not going to be stopping in Advent. So if you want to write a letter to your addiction, if you feel called to do this, if you feel moved by this, if you want to impact and inspire other people through writing a 3-minute letter to your addiction, I encourage you to get in touch with me or get in touch with Danny, and we'll get the ball rolling. But here's Andrew's letter to his addiction. Take a look.
My name is Andrew Swenson. My sobriety date is December 14th, 2019, and this is a letter to my addiction. To my addiction, it has been a while since I last embraced you. It has been some time since you had me in your grips. I still remember the first time you came into my life. You told me you would bring me everything I was missing. You told me you would take away the pain I was feeling. You told me that we would walk through life together and you would always be there for me. Well, you were right about one thing. You would always be there. For so long, I was able to keep you subdued, keep you just quiet enough to make the world think I was okay. For so long, I thought we could have the relationship. I didn't say anything about you, and you were there when I needed. I was wrong. You were far more powerful than I imagined. You showed up at all the right times. You were there on lonely Friday nights, divorces, putting my dog down, losing a job, and most of all, when I just couldn't do it alone anymore. You were there. When you last knew me, I had no friends, no family, no morals, and no integrity. I had nothing. When you were close to me, I didn't know happiness, joy. I didn't know God. I protected you, lied for you, just to keep you by my side. I pushed everything good out of my life because of you. I left myself behind in pursuit of you. You convinced me you were my strength. You convinced me you were my only friend. You told me that as long as I had you, everything would be okay, all while everything was spiraling out from underneath me. All those years with you, I only knew pain. Every day, a battle for a smile, for hope, for love, to feel, to be me. Watching so many around me hurt because of the pain you caused me and the pain you forced me to inflict on others. You caused my mother and father to lose their son. You withheld the world from experiencing a great man and a man from experiencing the world. Time and time again, I tried to walk away from you, say goodbye. Every time trying to walk away from something that had me so brainwashed that I turned and ran right back. You had taken everything from me, given me nothing, and drove me to complete loss. After a while, I walked away from you. I told myself I had beaten you. I began to live, got life back, my friends, my family, and the love of my life. I'd done it. I had moved on. I was wrong. You still had me. You lay dormant and tricked me. You were still there. You waited for my guard to be down, for me to be happy, free, and in love. I almost lost it all again, but this time I was stronger. This time I had God, I found love, I found friendship and joy. I learned that I can never beat you. I will never be fully without you, but I also learned that I didn't have to be a slave to you. I didn't have to listen to you, and I didn't have to be led by you. Today I can be honest, I can face my mistakes, I can keep my head up and know that I have the strength. Today I am a role model, a leader I am looked up to. Without you and because of you, I am who I am today. I get to guide and help others. I can honestly say I'm enough. I am strong and I am loved. I get to create memories and remember them. I get to be a part of something other than myself. I will never look back at you, but I will never forget you. I will remember you as a way to move forward. I will tell my story without shame and give strength and hope to others that still confide in you. I am recovered.
Wow, powerful stuff, Andrew. Thank you for your bravery and your courage to share that letter with us. And again, y'all, if you feel called or inspired to do the same, let me know. Let a brother know. Reach out to me, reach out to Danny. We'll start the process. Thanks again, Andrew. Powerful stuff. We are in week 3 of Sober and Serene for the holidays. So let's talk about some joy, shall we? Let's begin with 3 very brief observations on joy. They're things that I've learned about joy along my journey. I actually learned a lot of things about joy, but for tonight I tried to boil it down to 3 things. So the first thing I've learned about joy is experienced in moments, usually ordinary, simple ones. Number 2. Your joy is directly proportional to your gratitude. Yeah. The more gratitude we practice, the more joy we experience. And number 3, joy often rides with disappointment and fear, and that, my brothers and sisters, is okay. Joy is. So that for our remainder of our time together tonight, I want you all to engage that question. Joy is. What is joy to you? Fill in the blank. Give us a word, a sentence, a phrase. What is joy to you? How do you describe it? How do you experience? Joy is. Drop it in the comments. Let the community in on the goodness. And I want to invite you all to think back, reflect back with me for a moment. What are some of the most profound moments of joy that you've experienced in your life? They're usually simple ones, aren't they? They're not constant. They come and go. They flicker. And they often catch us by surprise, don't they? So this picture that's getting ready to pop up on the screen, that picture, it's in my favorite sections, by the way, in my iPhone. That picture is of me and my daughter Shiloh. This was taken back on September 5th of 2017. She was 4 years old at the time. And this will forever go down as a profound moment of joy in my life, and here's why. Because on September 5th of 2017, we went to the Rockies game that night. This was back when you could actually do that, right? We went to the Rockies game. There was lots of people there. Lots of people, 50,000 people. And y'all, we lived it up on this night. I mean, we totally lived it up. We got there early and we started with cotton candy, and then we moved to we moved into the lemonade, and by the 7th inning, we were totally filled with ice cream. I mean, we were living it up. And what I think happened, Shiloh was on a bit of a sugar high. All right? We were about 41 rows up in right field, and Shiloh is dancing. Like in our section, she's dancing in between the seats. And at one point she says to me during the 7th inning, she says, "Poppy, I am going to start dancing in the aisle and I'm going to put on a show." I said, "Baby girl, you go. Do your thing. Bring some joy." And so she goes out into the aisle and she is dancing and she's spinning and she's twirling, and it all ended with this, like, I can't do it, but she did this really majestic spin thing, and then it ended with a ta-da, one of those. And here's what made this moment so great. Because at that same time, Nolan Arenado, Rockies player, busted a double into the gap, scoring Carlos Gonzalez to tie the game. In that moment, 50,000 people rose to their feet and they were clapping and smiling and hollering. And Shiloh standing there like this. And she looks at me, and her eyes are just as big as saucers. And she says, "Poppy, do you hear that? They love my dance." Yeah, talk about joy. The stuff that fills you with gratitude. You know, Brene Brown, I've mentioned her here before. She's absolutely one of my very favorite authors, and I recommend everything that she's written. She's got a great podcast too, but the book to start with is this book called The Gifts of Imperfection. And in it she says this, and we'll throw it on the screen for you. She says, "Twinkle lights are the perfect metaphor for joy. Joy is not a constant. It comes to us in moments, often ordinary moments. Sometimes we miss out on the burst of joy because we're too busy chasing down extraordinary moments. Other times we're so afraid of the dark that we don't dare let ourselves enjoy the light. A joyful life is not a floodlight of joy. That would eventually become unbearable." You see, it's a great reminder for us, especially y'all, especially during the holiday season, to slow down. Slow down. We're being forced to slow down anyways for like the last 9 months. Embrace it. Slow down. Stop looking for joy in those big, extraordinary moments and find the joy. Become aware of the joy that is in the simplest moments all around us, the kind of moments that just kind of flicker continuously in our midst. Because see, being surprised by joy is about that growing awareness that there's more going on here. It's that ta-da moment that you can see from the outside, but you can't always explain it. There's more going on here, and I'm more often surprised by joy when I'm living in gratitude. Because when I start with what I have, rather than starting with what I don't have, then some stuff happens. But you all know that culturally, we have become addicted to starting with what we don't have. We don't start with what we have, we start with what we don't have. We start with the pain, the failure, the money you don't have, the school you didn't get into, the school you weren't able to go to, the experiences you didn't get to have because of this pandemic. And do y'all see what happens when we start like that? It has a way of taking from us our sense of gratitude. People have asked me in this community before, why do we end with heartaches? We start with celebrations and end with heartaches. Why do we end? It seems like such a low note to end on. Because it's not our starting place. We don't avoid that stuff, but we start with gratitude. We start with joy. We start with what we have been given, what we do have, because here's what we know about joy. Your joy is directly proportional to your gratitude. Yeah, your joy is directly proportional to your gratitude. And I used to not think this was the case. I didn't have a category for this because, see, what I used to think was happy things happen in your life, good things happen in your life, and when those happy things happen, then you can express gratitude. Then you have something to be thankful for. And what I actually found was in my recovery, in my sobriety, it's actually the exact opposite. It's why we call it a paradox. The things we don't understand until we experience them. And actually what happens is gratitude produces joy. When we practice gratitude, joy becomes the result of that. So let's go back for a moment. Do you remember when we talked about Paul's letter from last week, Paul's letter to the Philippians, Apostle Paul? First century, just to give you a bit of a refresher, remember the Apostle Paul? He would go and start these movements, these churches, and then he would leave and start another movement, another church, and he'd leave and start another one. And the way he kept in contact with them was through letter writing. He would write them letters. And if you remember from last week, right after his introduction, right after saying grace and peace to you, my brothers and sisters, he said you can experience God's peace, which transcends all understanding. It transcends human understanding. But then he says this, early in the letter, by the way, one line, I'll read it. I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy. And you know why it stands out? I'll say it again this week. Because he's writing this letter while he's in prison, behind the walls of a prison, unjustly accused. And do you see how Paul starts with what he has? He doesn't start with what's been taken from him. He starts with what he has. He starts with gratitude. And by the way, you can read this letter tonight in about 15 minutes. It's 4 chapters. It was a short letter. He uses the word joy 17 times in this letter. Everything's been taken from him, and he talks about joy 17 times. Here's how he closes the letter. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Now, you know what's fascinating about this? In the Greek, joy is this word kairo, and it stems from this word charis, which means grace or gift, which means, my brothers and sisters, that joy has its roots in a word that means gift. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? See, you're here. You're here. Some of you are here, but you are here. You're in this moment. We talked about the importance of breathing last week, remember? There's something divine about our breath. You're here, you're breathing. So the very first thing that can be said about you is you have been given a great, tremendous gift. Start there. You have been given a gift. What you do with that gift matters. Start here. You see, in my experience and observation, the people who have and hold the most authentic kind of joy in life are those who live with an openness. And they're able, you might know these people, they're able to look back at their lives and they're able to see it and say wild things like, it's all just a gift. The valleys, the pits, the hard stuff, it's all just a gift, all of it. All of it. So practice gratitude. Practice it. Yes, make gratitude lists. Get a journal. Get one of Tony's journals and practice gratitude in writing. Express your gratitude. Go around the dinner table. We do this often as a family, and we'll say the things we're grateful for that happened that day. Express your gratitude. And y'all listen, sometimes you might need to ask God for help in this area. Anyone else? Got to ask God for help in this area? God, help me be grateful. Because sometimes it is hard to see life as a gift, isn't it? Especially this year, in the year 2020. It's hard to see life as a gift, isn't it? You know, this week I had to I had to call my sponsor this week. And he answered the phone like he does. And I said, Sergeant Major, dude, I need to talk. I need to vent. Man, I'm just a little angry. The word I used with him was I'm a little irritable. I'm a little discontent right now. The COVID thing is getting to me. The pandemic thing is getting to me. I'm not feeling settled about things. And he was tied up with something else, so he asked if we could talk in a little bit, and I said, of course. And he said, I would love to talk about this with you, Ryan, but can I make a suggestion first? Man, I hate when he makes suggestions. This dude's always having me pray. And he says, I know I'm asking a preacher to pray. It's because I need to be reminded. He says, before we talk, pray about it and invite God in. In other words, what I think he was saying to me was, Ryan, do remember to start with what you have rather than all the things you think you don't have. Start with what you have rather than starting with the things that you think have been taken from you. Because see what happened on Tuesday of this week, it was a moment of another disappointment. And I don't know about y'all, but when disappointment happens in my life, it also has a way of bringing up fear. The fear of, is this just the way things are? Is this the way things are going to be? Is anything ever going to change? So it brings up fear, normal fear. And see, like 3 days prior, all my kids wanted to do was go ice skating. It's all they talked about. So we made a promise to them that we would take them ice skating on Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday afternoon in the evening. Is it true, Selah? Mm-hmm. We didn't get to go, did we? So we get to I'm going to let y'all on a little secret. If you're a Denver native or a local Denver person, here's a little secret. The best place to go ice skating is at Denver International Airport. They have the best outdoor ice skating rink. And y'all get this, it's free. Yeah, we have 4 kids. That makes a difference. It's free. Free rental, free ice skating. So we leave here, we leave free to go jump on the highway and travel out to DIA, Denver International Airport, to go ice skating. And we pull up, the Westin Hotel is connected to the airport, if you're not familiar with the Denver airport. And I pull up to the front of the Westin and I said, hey, where do we park for the ice skating? We're just here to go ice skating. We're not staying. We're just going to ice skate. And he said, oh, that's not going this year. What? What happened? Someone get lazy? What do you mean it's not going this year? It's like, oh, it's water, frozen. We play on it. Simple. He said, no. It's because of COVID. Shut it down. They didn't even put it up this year. Are you freaking serious? This is an outdoor activity. We got our masks on. We just washed our hands. We're good. We can do this. And you know what he said to us? I mean, he was as disappointed as we are. He said, yeah, it's 2020. It's like disappointments aren't even a surprise anymore, are they? So we stay in the car. We jump back on Pena Boulevard, then I-70, then the I-225, then the I-25. And I said, you know what, honey? We ain't gonna let this get us down. We're gonna go to the movies. I haven't been to the movies in months, like y'all probably. We're gonna go to the movies. We have these gift cards still left from last year. We're going to a movie. She said, the theaters aren't open. I said, oh, bull butter, the theaters are open. I remember them opening a couple months ago. The theaters are open. She said, we're in red zone. The theaters aren't open. Watch this. When Ryan says watch this, usually when I'm wrong. So I call AMC. Theaters aren't open. They're closed. So we get home. We were supposed to go out for hot chocolate. It was supposed to be a fun afternoon and evening. Instead, we just go home, and Ryan puts on his white basketball shorts. I don't even play basketball anymore, but the family knows when Poppy puts on his white basketball shorts, we're in for the night. We don't do anything. We just sit on the couch and relax, and we don't go anywhere. I got my white basketball shorts on, and I'm just sitting on that couch, and I'm having a pity party. I'm going to find a movie that only Ryan enjoys, and no one's going to watch it with me. And Tammy comes up to me. She says, let's go look at Christmas lights. And I think I said something like, no, that's stupid. I don't want to do that. And I'm throwing a fit about things. And she says, oh, come on. We don't have anything else to do. Let's jump in a car and just drive around the neighborhood and look at Christmas lights. Fine, but it's stupid. I don't really want to go, but I'll go because y'all need to know how I feel about things, and I need to let you know how I feel, and you need to know I'm a little angry and frustrated and irritable. So we get in the car, y'all, Now this was that we went twice this week. Thursday night was the jammies night. This was Tuesday night. We get in a car, we're driving through our neighborhood, and about halfway through our drive, my little boy Bricks, who will be 2 in February, well, he jumps in my lap. And we wouldn't normally drive with a kid on our laps, but it was just in the neighborhood, so I think we're good. I hope law enforcement isn't watching. And y'all, I have to tell you, every house, every light, every blown up Santa that was in the yard, I mean, this dude was filled with like an amazing sense of awe and wonder, and he kept saying the same word over and over. He must have said it 100 times. Wow. Every light, every Santa, every house. Wow. Wow. You see, and in that moment, what I realized was he had encountered pure, innocent, profound joy. And because of that, in that moment, I had encountered pure, innocent, profound joy. And in that moment, my passengers were no longer fear and disappointment, but my passenger was awe and wonder, and it was through the form of a child. You see, my brothers and sisters, I do get it. 2020 has been filled with lots of fear, lots of disappointment. But please, please don't let those things keep you from going. Don't let those things keep you from experiencing joy. And it's true. Fear and disappointment will be part of the journey. Allow them to be passengers. But they can't be the only passengers. You see, you got to keep your heart open to the simple and ordinary moments of joy that are flickering all the time in your midst. And by the way, do you remember how hope and peace and joy and love was born into the world? It's the Christmas story. Luke's gospel tells it this way. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby. Now this is right after Jesus was born, same night. Keeping watch over their flocks at night. Bear that in mind, at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all people." These shepherds, very ordinary people, in the fields, at night doing their thing, watching sheep, because that's what shepherds do. And good news is announced to them, and what's their response? Good news, great joy, and they're terrified. They're terrified. This makes sense to some of you, all right? The angel announces a new thing is happening, joy for all people, not just some people, and they're terrified. But in that moment, fear doesn't win. Because the story ends with this line. When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see the thing that has happened." Don't let fear keep you from experiencing the new thing that God is doing in you and all around you. Don't let fear keep you from experiencing joy. And by the way, when does this good news of great joy happen? At night. At night, in the darkness. And y'all do know, right? You do know that joy still flickers this Advent and Christmas season. It is still flickering. Even in the midst of a pandemic. Even in the midst of not being able to gather as much in person, even in the midst of your irritability and your frustration, even in the midst of the darkness, Christmas will still happen. Joy will still be born again. But will we be open to experience it? Will you be open to experience it? Will you run towards the good news when you hear it? Will you say no to fear and take a different path? And remember, it almost always happens in the most ordinary ways, in the most unexpected places. even in the midst of your fear and your disappointment, joy still flickers. You see, and maybe for you, joy just seems so far off, especially this holiday season, because you're reminded of all the things you don't have. Or maybe you're one of the ones tuning in tonight and you have been battling addiction for so long, you are convinced there's not a way out of this mess. You have been battling, and joy is so far off because you can't see another way to live. You know, just yesterday, Tammy and I had, in one afternoon, 4 crisis calls, people reaching out. Maybe you're one of the ones in crisis, you're watching a loved one battle this thing of addiction. And you're thinking, there's no way out of this. This is just the way it is, and joy isn't possible. And your life is being rocked because of addiction, or you're watching someone who's addicted. And I want to take a moment and encourage you to keep looking for the flickering, because it's there. The flickering is there. It happens. It's going to continue to happen. In fact, maybe you being here tonight, maybe you tuning in tonight, maybe that's a sign of the flickering. You're joining into a community who loves you, who's willing to walk with you, a community who is committed to not doing shame, because God doesn't do shame. So I want to give you all a moment to reflect, and you'll see a question on the screen. Take a minute and reflect. Where have you experienced joy this week? Because sometimes we can look far back, but it's important, especially now in 2020, name it and identify it. The light and the darkness, where have you experienced joy this week? And if you're one of the ones that's struggling, if you're one of the ones that you're saying to yourself, man, you don't get it, I am barely hanging on, I want you to know we have a team of people here that is willing to reach out to you. You need to send us a private message. Look at that, we have blinking lights, beautiful. Blinking lights. I want you to know we have a team here who will call you back tonight. Send us a private message with your phone number, and that team will get in touch with you tonight, not tomorrow. They're not going to wait, not early this week. They're going to call you tonight, but you got to be brave enough and have enough courage to say, yeah, maybe I'm ready to take a first step. Maybe I'm ready to say I'm at the end and I'm barely hanging on. But you got to reach out, y'all. Take a moment and reflect. We do have a guest storyteller, Jeremy, in the house, and I can't wait for y'all to hear Jeremy's story. He's going to share with us some joy, but he's not going to start with the joy. He's actually going to start somewhere else, even though we just talked about making your starting place gratitude. But the whole thing is about gratitude. Jeremy's coming up on, actually just celebrated 10 years of sobriety, right? Clean and sober. He has this powerful story, as I said, if you follow us on Facebook, on social media, you know, from a college professor to having things together in life, to all of a sudden battling addiction and homelessness, and today things are different 10 years later. I want him to share some of that story with you. So Jeremy and Lindsay, so glad you're part of this community. They're newer in this community, but so glad you all are here and active and involved. Can't wait to get you all more, but help me welcome Jeremy to the table. We over here. We're over here. They're fiddling with the cameras in the back. Jeremy, glad you're here, dude. We're here.
We're here.
We have been given a great gift.
Yes, we have.
And if we're in recovery, we especially know it, right? I mean, everyone's been given a gift, but
Yeah,
some of us have been given many gifts, many chances.
many.
You're one of them, dude.
I am.
You're one of them. So talk to us, just walk us through your story a little bit. I know your story includes some things of in childhood and growing up of not being loved in your mind and not being lovable, not being worthy. How did it all lead to a life of addiction?
So for me,
And I want to say too, Jeremy puts a face, I said this in the social media post, Jeremy puts a face to the opioid crisis that we are still experiencing here in America, and it's an important story for people to know and have some understanding of.
yeah.
Take it away.
For me, my story is about disconnection. So from a young age, I had shame and fear about the disconnection in my life. I had traumas in my childhood. I had a relationship with both my parents that was not of the greatest after they divorced when I was in high school. And ultimately, I walked around with not feeling worthy of love. I felt that I was fundamentally flawed, and because of the environment that I was raised in, I didn't have outlets. I didn't have people to talk to about it, so I naturally just stuffed everything down. So from the outside looking in, fast forwarding to when I was in college, I mean, it looked like I had all of my stuff together. Like I was in my early 20s. I was an adjunct professor. I was the resident life assistant director at the college I was teaching at. I was working in an industry and had a career that I was passionate about, but no one knew that behind closed doors, like I was the inner dialogue and the inner stories that I was telling myself were running the show in reality.
Yeah, so addiction can be really sneaky, right? I mean,
Totally.
some people understand that, and especially the loved ones of, they get that just as much, that this stuff creeps up and it's sneaky in a sense of it can look like you have it all together
Yeah.
on the inside or on the outside, but on the inside you're crumbling, you're dying,
Totally.
and things can't be misaligned forever.
Right.
They do fall.
Yeah. Well,
Tell us about when
the
things fall.
facade that I had was that everything, I mean, it looked good from the outside.
Yeah.
But no one knew that I was dying on the inside.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like I started to experiment and chase substances to quiet that inner dialogue, to numb out the feeling that I was unlovable, the feeling that I was tainted, the feeling that I wasn't worthy. And those are the things that I had been carrying around for 20 years.
Yeah, because it helps quiet the mind. That's what we tell ourselves, right? This is
Totally.
the only thing that's going to quiet our mind.
Yeah.
So bring us up to the, when did things get the worst?
I would say, so I managed it for quite a while, for a couple of years. I mean, I started off with cocaine, and while still teaching and while still a member of the school, and like no one knew that I was doing an 8-ball of cocaine every night, like behind closed doors.
Yeah, yeah.
So it took me probably 2 years. I'd moved back to Denver. I'd gotten out of the town that I was living in, and it really, like I got on a slippery slope. Multiple things were happening in my life. The relationship with my father, my dad passed away, and after the divorce, my parents and I, or my father and I really, we weren't ever able to make amends.
Yeah.
I was never able to tell him, hey, I'm sorry, I forgive you for the things that you did. So I carried around a lot of remorse, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and that was kind of the turning point in my using career, because I went from like partying socially, doing cocaine, doing hallucinogens, to like my buddy came and knocked on my door and was like, hey, I've got a doctor that'll write you a prescription for Oxycontin.
And you were off to the races.
And I mean, before I could bat an eye, I had the equivalent of prescriptions that someone would have been prescribed if they were terminally ill with cancer. Like
for
someone,
people that don't know, what are Oxycontins?
so Oxycontin's a brand of oxycodone. It's an opiate. It's of the stronger variety of opiates. I wasn't just prescribed Oxycontin. I was prescribed Oxycontin and extended release Percocets and Xanax and Ambien to help me sleep. Like this doctor just wrote me a plethora of things that I wanted.
Things you didn't need.
Things I didn't need, but I told myself I needed them. I walked into his office with excuses. Like, I'm blind in my right eye. I've got headaches.
You know, it's the common story we hear from almost every storyteller that joins us at this table. Addiction, your addiction, when you're active in your addiction, you're lying. I mean, we tell the lies to continue the use because we're disconnected.
Yeah.
Our integrity is not in line with even what we might think up here.
Yeah.
So we live these lives of disconnection. Okay, so I want to fast forward to, you are now roaming the streets of West Colfax.
Yep.
West Colfax.
Colfax,
in a hotel.
Colfax and Sheridan, to be specific.
Colfax. Well, I know exactly what it is. That's our old stomping grounds. All right, so you're roaming around there. You're in a hotel one night, doing your thing.
Yep.
And by this time you were shooting up.
Yep.
And what you told me was so powerful the other night. You said you prayed, God, save me or let me die. What happened later that day?
So that evening, like, I was, to back up a little bit, so that last couple of weeks of me using were really ugly. Like, I was mixing a lot of cocaine, a lot of meth, a lot of things with the opiates, the heroin, the Oxycontin, everything. So I had a lot of things in my system. And I'd overdosed several times in the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
I knew that the cops were looking for me. I knew that, like, it was about to end poorly for me. I was either gonna die or end up in jail. So I remember praying to God, and at that point in time, I hadn't had a connection with God really ever, because I had a lot of resentment towards God. So I said, God, either save me or let me die a junkie's death and just end this. And it was about 30 minutes to an hour later, the door swings open and like 10 of Jefferson County's finest storm into the room with AR-15s, and it was over. So
y'all are here, the book title in this, right? Saved by the SWAT team.
Saved by the SWAT team.
Saved by the AR-15.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. I mean, powerful. So they took you to jail.
Yeah.
You did some time.
Yep. So this was the turning point. This was the event in my life that allowed me to hit a rock bottom that inspired and gave me that intrinsic desire to change.
Yeah. So what was it in that moment when was it the SWAT team?
Yeah.
When the SWAT team busted down your hotel room door, and you're like, "Oh crap, this is, I'm done." What was the feeling of, this is my bottom? This is I mean, in 12 steps we call it the gift of desperation.
Yeah.
Were you just completely? Was it a true surrender?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I had just shot up. I was on the bed, like I was basically incapacitated. I don't remember a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's really blurry for me. The recognition that I had hit rock bottom was when I heard the jail cell door, the clink, 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 crash behind me.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, oh, this is
real.
This is it. This is the end.
So how'd life get different for you? Things are different now, right?
Yeah, they're very different.
Yeah.
So I used that as the start of the rest of my story. Like, I was in jail. I stood before a judge. I asked her to send me to rehab, and I was released with probation. So I went to rehab up in Harvest Farm up in Fort Collins. And looking back, like, I knew that if I didn't give this everything I had, and if I didn't truly surrender, that I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was one or the other. And an interesting thing happened to me while I was in treatment. The DEA came to find me because they knew that I was associated with this doctor, and they said, look, you're the only person that we can find that's either not dead or in pursuit of a better life, that's been affected by this doctor. So will you testify in front of a grand jury and help us put this guy behind bars? And initially I was like, I don't know about that. But after praying about it, like, I realized that this was my first spiritual experience was the SWAT team. This was God showing up in my life again.
SWAT team, then the DEA? I see a message here, dude. And I just want to pause for a moment, because when you said that to me the other night, it struck me then, it strikes me now. We've got to get honest in this conversation as a country, as a people. How many people have died from not just a drug overdose, but an opiate overdose? How many lives have been destroyed? I know the statistics last year were over 72,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, that's
real.
why it's called a crisis. It's why it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
So when they came to you and said, you're one of the only ones we can find who's in search of a better life, who's not dead, dang, dude.
Yeah. It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Like, it was scary. Like, I didn't know how it was going to go down, but I walked through it with grace. Like, I prayed about it. I showed up. I testified in front of a grand jury with federal prosecutors, undercover DEA agents, and they arrested the guy the next day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in my time in the rooms over the last 10 years, like, I've ran into handfuls of people. They're like, oh yeah, he was my doctor too. And they're like, oh, you're the guy that, like,
You're the guy.
You're the guy. Because, I mean, it was in the paper. It was a pretty big ordeal.
So, Jeremy, I want people to understand, it's not just that you stopped using and stopped. I know booze was a thing for you too. It's not just that you put the drink down. It's when we talk about recovery, we're talking about the things that actually get recovered in our lives. And joy is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, your story is really simple to point it out. We talked about this the other night, like from homelessness and addiction to now. I'm assuming you were single in that time of addiction. Now you're married to Lindsay. You have 2 beautiful baby boys, and not baby boys, but young boys.
Yeah.
You have a home, dude. I mean, we've
Homeless
been in their
10
home.
years ago.
Yeah,
Beautiful home now.
We had
Yeah.
dinner there a couple weeks ago. It was great. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
He cooked ribs. It was amazing. I mean, these are the things you get in recovery.
Yeah.
Where's the joy in that?
So for me, joy doesn't come from what I do. It doesn't come from my career, the things I've got. It comes from my presence in doing those things.
Yeah. Say more about that. I think you're onto something with that.
Well,
To be present in that moment.
it flows from me into whatever I'm doing. It doesn't matter if it's how I'm showing up in my relationship with Lindsay. It doesn't matter if I'm showing up in my career or at the workplace or when I'm parenting the boys. If I'm present in that moment, that's what allows me to access the flickers of joy when they become apparent.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not present in anything I'm doing, if I am numbed out, walking around like a corpse, I don't even have access to it.
Yeah.
So for me, the flow from my spirit is how I experience joy.
Yeah. And so is it fair to say, well, I'll just speak for my life. It's fair to say in my life, when I was in active addiction, the drink for me kept me from seeing the flicker of light. I had to get rid of that before I could even begin to see
Totally.
some flickering.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the ways I tell that I'm not present in the moment now is the more times, are my kids listening? Yes, they are, kind of. The more times they have to say, Poppy, 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 Papa, what, baby? You know what I mean? It's usually, I'm working on an email, I'm typing something, I'm busy scrolling through Instagram or whatever it is, I'm looking at cat videos, and it's like, I gotta get, I mean, I'm reminded, like, when I get on my kids love when I get on the floor and play with them because I'm present in that moment.
Totally.
When I'm doing this, there's something about my lack of presence, and they pick up on that. They get that, you know.
Oliver
They call
will
us out.
literally stand there,
How old's Oliver?
3.5.
3.5.
He will stand there and say either my name 10 times before I give
Yeah.
him my attention.
Yeah.
Or if it's kind of a dance and I kind of like he'll stand there and repeat the same thing, and I actually have to fully like get down on his level and engage with him
Yeah.
to get him to move on to the next thing
Yeah.
or respond to him. And if I'm not present, I can't experience that and I can't see the joy in those moments.
And that's what God does with us, right? I mean, not to make a sermon out of this, but doesn't God get down on our level
Absolutely,
and be
yeah.
present with us?
Yeah.
And our wives can pick it up too. You know what? When the real gut shot is my wife? Yeah, she's listening. The real gut shot can be when Tammy says, "You know, you just haven't been very present lately.
Yeah.
Like I'm there, I live there, I'm home for dinner,
Yeah.
but you haven't been very present lately." Ouch, man.
Totally.
Yeah, so we've got some work to do, is what you're saying. Dude, I'm so glad you're with us tonight. Really, so glad you're part of this community. And I want to say to you too, if you're watching, which camera are we on right now, Danny? This one, that one. If you're tuning in right now, or even for those of you here, if you're tuning in or here, and really, I mean, I was telling Jeremy the other night, we haven't talked about the opioid crisis enough in this community. It's something that we need to talk about. If that's something you battle, if that is something you're struggling with, I know my boy Jeremy here would love to begin a conversation with you. I know he would be willing to walk with you and journey with you. Or if you've got questions about his journey, his path, how he got clean and sober,
Absolutely.
reach out to him. Put it in the comments. You'll respond to him, right?
Absolutely.
I know you will. So yeah, but y'all, the point is of the whole thing tonight, you've got to reach out. No one's going to do the hard work for you. You've got to take that first step on your own by saying, "Hello, I'm here. I need some help. I can't do this thing on my own." And Jeremy's life just kind of demonstrates that. You don't do things on your own. I know the 12 steps have impacted you. You're part of this community. You've been impacted by spiritual communities. And dude, I'm just so grateful you're here. Love you, brother.
Thank you. Love you.
All right, y'all. We're going to transition now into, we should celebrate Jeremy being here. Clap for that. We are going to transition into our time of heartaches, because it's how we end in this community. We end with the heartaches. We lift these things up to God because we believe that God journeys with us. We believe in the simple premise of journeying together and lifting these things up together. So I want y'all to take 2 minutes. Get vulnerable. I'm sorry, it's 3 minutes, isn't it, Drew? Take 3 minutes. Get vulnerable with this community. Let them in on the heavy things you're carrying, because we don't carry them alone. We pray for you all throughout the week. If you put a comment in, we try to connect with you all throughout the week and lift you up. This community is lifting you up. We do not walk alone. We do not walk in shame, but you got to let people into your life. It is one of the most beautiful things, one of the most profound things happens when you let people in. So take 3 minutes and let people in with the burdens you're carrying, and we'll see you in just a moment. All right, welcome back, everybody. How about these twinkle lights?
There they
Didn't
are.
I asked if we had any earlier this week. Where were these?
They're up front. Yeah, I didn't know they twinkled. I went up there and switched it on and it was twinkling. It was perfect.
Y'all, I even said, I said, you know what we need? We need twinkle lights this week. Do we have twinkle lights? Tammy said, we don't have twinkle lights. We had twinkle lights.
There they are.
All right, I'm glad we got the twinkle lights up here. Drew, shall we throw a couple of heartaches up on the screen and lift one another up?
Oh gosh, Matt.
Ah, jeez.
Our sister Elle lost her son today.
Sorry,
Oh,
Matt.
man.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
You guys know Elle.
Oh,
Been here before.
yep,
That's her.
yep. Oh my goodness.
Dang. Sorry, Matt.
Prayers for her.
Gosh.
Jiminy, all right. Cindy says prayers for Victoria with COVID. Lifting
Victoria.
up Victoria. Prayers for you, Victoria. Thank you, Cindy, for lifting her up. This community will lift you up.
Prayers that Jesus keeps Jen healthy as she works crazy hours until Christmas. Yeah, I've been thinking about her and you a lot with all the deliveries and driving that she's been doing. So we'll continue to think of you guys and pray for y'all.
Prayers for you, Christy and Jen. Glad y'all are part of this community. And Leslie. Leslie, glad you're part of this community too. She says, please pray for my sister Phyllis, brother-in-law Mark, and their sons Ben and Nick. Phyllis is really struggling with alcohol. They have all had a horrible, rough week. She is scheduled to check into rehab this coming Friday. Prayers for Phyllis. Prayers for the whole family. It's a family thing, isn't it? So thank you for lifting them up. Leslie, we're going to be holding y'all in prayer.
Yep, glad you're here, Leslie. Elizabeth says, please pray my doctors can get my meds right for once. I'm sick of being angry. I don't see the end of that over there.
All the time.
Okay. All the time. This is not the human I want to be. Yeah. Glad
Lifting
you're here,
you
Elizabeth.
up, Elizabeth. Amy Stevens says, both my parents have COVID. So sorry to hear that, Amy. Prayers for both of your parents and prayers for you.
Jess is a sweet lady, yes.
She is a sweet lady.
From Ben, we are mourning the loss of a longtime friend, 40, who passed due to COVID. A husband and father to a 6-year-old. Dang.
Sorry to hear that, Ben. Prayers for your friend. Prayers for you guys. The heavy stuff. Marty says prayers for a friend, family friend, a young man who ended his life yesterday.
Man.
Ah, Marty, again, heavy stuff. I'm glad y'all feel safe in this community to lift up the heavy, but we're going to pray for that young man, his family, all involved. Thank you for lifting that up, Marty. Let's do one more.
Jess, prayers to figure out what's going on with my ankle. I think I saw a picture with your brace on your foot today, and I was wondering what was going on too. So, dang.
Yeah, for those that don't know, I mean, she's been in and out of surgery, and it's been
20
20
surgeries?
surgeries. So, Jess, prayers for you. Darn it. Sorry you're going through that. All right, well, thank you for joining me, Tammy. Thank you for the flicker lights. Ding, ding, ding. Joy.
Ding, ding, ding.
Even when things are hard. I mean, it's a reminder, joy is constantly around us, even when things are hard. So, y'all, I'm so glad to be on this journey of Advent joy with you. I want to say it. You know, I think I mentioned last week for Giving Tuesday raised over $13,000, really close to $14,000. So you guys are just really, really awesome. Thank you for that. I mean, your giving here, we're so grateful for it. We're honestly so appreciative, and your generous giving. It keeps things going here. It keeps the mission moving forward, and we do realize that giving of your finances, I mean, giving of all your gifts, but giving of your finances, it too is a spiritual practice. It's one that we encourage and appreciate around here, especially if you call this place home. If this is your home, we encourage giving, and there's 3 ways to give in this community. The first way to give is to simply download the app, and you can give directly on the app, and it's a free app, by the way. Just search Free Spiritual Community. You can also go directly to the website and give there, freespiritualcommunity.com, safe and secure, or you can text the number on your screen. Text to them, Be the Wagon, and they will give you a set of instructions. Your generous giving sustains the mission here at Free, and we are so grateful. It's been a minute since I shared the story of the wagon, hasn't it? Shall I share with you all the story of the wagon? It's been a minute. Some of y'all need to hear the story of the wagon. It is the central image in this community. One of our donation boxes sits on top of the wagon, and it has since day one. It's been with us since the backyard. When I was at the largest rescue mission in the country, this was several years ago, in LA, the Union Rescue Mission, I was taking a tour, and we went up with one of the directors there of the rescue mission, and on the third floor, there's pictures of their memorabilia, and one of the central pictures was this like old black and white photo of a wagon. And I said, dude, what's the story with the wagon? He said, oh my goodness, you don't know the story of the wagon? Tell us about the story. Apparently I needed to know the story of the wagon. So he says that's how this place got started, the late 1800s. This wagon would roll into the roughest parts of town, and they would distribute things like food and clothing and Bibles and hope, and they would welcome anyone to get on the wagon to get on and go back to this place of safety and recovery. Yeah. What happens at the end of the night when you get a bunch of drunk people on a wagon? They fall off. And when they fell off, this wagon would stop, and they would help pick people back on who had fallen off the wagon. And when I heard that story, I thought, oh my goodness, that is church. That's the church at its best, when we can do that kind of holy, sacred work. And so we committed to doing that work here at Free. If you fall off the wagon, it doesn't matter what you have fallen from. It can be addiction, it can be relapse, it can be whatever. We don't encourage it, but we know what happens. We're not here to kick. We're not here to do shame. We do welcome you back into this community. We want you part of this community because we know where we're headed, a place of healing and recovery and spiritual connection. That's what we're about here at Free. Y'all, I'm so glad you're part of this community. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for all the gifts you give of your presence here. Shall we go out with the Serenity prayer? If you don't know the Serenity prayer, what's that? Yeah. If you don't know it, it's on your screen, and it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week, even in the midst of 2020, even in the midst of hard things, may you, my brothers and sisters, experience all kinds of joy in the ordinary, simple moments, even if fear and disappointment is present. And remember, your joy is directly proportional to what? Your gratitude. Grace and peace and joy to you this week, and we will see you Friday night, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Love y'all.